And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Welcome back to A Country Boy Can Cook, an old dude production. Except we ain't cooking today. We're out in the garden. Yeah, it's 28 degrees this morning. And I'm in my sunroom where I'm going to start my gardening. Let me show you what I'm going to do. You can see all those containers. Those big milk crates on the bottom. Those are just there to get the container up so I can deal with it and I don't have to stoop over to the floor. Each one of those clear containers will hold some type of plant. Tomatoes, celery, lettuce. Like I've repurposed this old juice jug. You can see it's got holes in the bottom. Once it's filled full of soil, there probably will be 3 that will fit in the bottom of that white container. You can see I've got them lined up like little soldiers down to there. You can water this really good. Don't have to worry about getting it on the floor because it's going to be trapped. And when you go to water again, you can just look through the clear plastic and see what the water level is. Keep your plants moist that way. You don't have to spray them. My neighbor's got a seed tray starting some plants. Let's see if we can get a closer shot here. You can see they're starting to sprout if I can hold this. There's just a few starting to sprout now. I've had it covered. Or once the seeds come up and start to sprout, then you can uncover them. But it's real important to keep them moist for the first few days of their life. And once you see them sprouting up, just take the cover off and let them get sun and keep them misted every day, or you can water the bottom of that pot. You can see I've got an old, I think a cake came in that a long time ago. You know what that's going to be. It's going to be a mini greenhouse for me starting plants in, starting seeds. Let's see what, oh, we've got it right here. So these are biodegradable egg cartons. Each one of these cells will get packed full of dirt and get a seed in it. And it will be put in the bottom of my mini greenhouse, watered daily. And when it starts to sprout up, then I'll take the top off. Once it gets a good root system, you can take a knife or a pair of scissors and you just cut each cell out, cut it in the bottom, make an X in it, and plant each little cell. The roots will go right through this paper and the paper will dissolve. Let's get my hands in the dirt and get this first stuff planted. In my soil mix here, this is potting soil down in here. This light colored stuff is the outside of a coconut husk. You can buy it's pretty inexpensive. It retains water really good. It's as good or better than peat moss. Peat moss has some problems that some people don't like. I've never had a problem with peat moss, but this is going to work good. You just buy it, you get it in a block like this, and you just pull you can see where it's just compressed layers. I took a knife and just broke some pieces off, and you can see it shreds really easy. This will retain a lot of water. This will retain a lot of moisture in your plants. And first thing we're going to fill is these old gallon milk jugs. I'll mix my soil together here, get a good mixture. The soil is good and loose. It's got the coconut husk mixed in with it. Mix a little bit more on the top here. I've been gardening all my life. From 5 to 6 acres of garden, a little truck garden, to hundreds of acres of wheat and oats and maize. So anyway, we've got that mixed up really good. What we're going to put in here first, I have, get it reach across you here. What we're going to put in first, this is the root end of a stalk of lettuce. I'm going to just put it in the soil here. We'll save this juice it was in. It's been growing in that juice really good. Just the water I've been putting in it. I'm just going to fill it up around the top here. Leave the soil really loose. And I can't remember if I put holes in that or not. But milk cartons are really easy to deal with. I know you can't see it, but I'm just making slits in the side. Have to thank Papa Scott for this Cutco knife he gave me. Camp Dog Seasonings sent this to me. It's got a good hook blade on it to skin with. It's really sharp. And it's going to do an excellent job of what I need. Alright. So let's get this and set to the side. Another one here. This time we'll make sure. I couldn't remember if I... You just want the holes in the bottom so that it won't drown your plants. I've got 2 stalks of lettuce, both romaine. It must have been a different variety because they look different when we bought them. Once we got to making salads out of it, I always cut the root end off, of course. And I put those in water and they just start to grow within 24 hours. They will start sprouting, which is a good thing. Get some more of this cocoa fiber in here. Coconut. I'm gonna get in here. I said this will help retain moisture. I don't need a deep container to put lettuce in. Here's my other one. And you can see the root system on that. I'm just going to take and swirl it around in here. Get some coconut fiber in there. Help hold that moisture in. And the water that it was in, it's going to water it in just for a little bit. It's going to get more water than this, but that'll get it started. And my other plant, the water that it was setting in, go ahead and use it. Does putting the water back in it from those plants help any? I don't know, to be honest with you. I used to raise pineapples. Take the top off of a pineapple. And if you ever want to do that, I've raised pineapples right here in Texas. You cut the top off, and that mother plant will have another pineapple. But guess what? Once she produces that pineapple, you can keep her alive. But I had one alive 3 years after that. She never produced, and it took 2 years to get a pineapple off of it. So I just did it because it was cool. They've got some beautiful blooms. I'll put some pictures. I've got some pictures of it. I'll slide them up here on top so you can see what I'm talking about. And it made beautiful pineapples that tasted great. But I'm telling you, for a couple of dollars, it's cheaper to go get a don't grow pineapples because you want to save money, and you sure ain't gonna save time for sure. I was looking at birds coming out here. Anyway, I used to where I would start my pineapple root top, and once it got all the roots, I just kept pouring water in and filling it, and you'd see I put it in a glass ramekin, and once it got all the roots, you see the little white roots start. I planted it in real moist soil, and I took the water. And that water was sometimes kind of stanky actually. But anyway, I poured it back in there, and always did really good. So let me get another plant here going. I have a celery top. It's about 4 weeks old. It's been in my kitchen window. It's got roots, and we're going to plant it today. Also, well, that water is stanky. I got the top or the root end of an onion. I've got some sets left over from that my neighbor gave me. These are root ends of a green onion that I bought for a recipe, and I just stuck them in water. And you can see what I'm going to do with these onions is just harvest the green. I've been told, I've never tried it. Here's another one. You see the roots are coming out, and it's starting to, the green is coming out the top. I've been told on onions like this, the green onions, you can just clip about half of the green, and it'll just keep growing, and then clip the other side. Here's another one that you can see all the roots and how big it's in, and this was just a little cutting off of the end of a onion that I used in a salad. Yeah, I always don't eat just hamburgers and steaks. I actually eat some salads every once in a while. So, right here, these green onions not going to grow real deep, so I've got this old juice container. Fill it up. See how long you can harvest the clippings or the cuttings off of green onions and keep them growing. Well, they just keep going. I know surely sooner or later they'll have to give up the ship, but well, it feels good. It's the first time I've had my hands in dirt in a long time, boys and girls. Well, since I had a landscaping company and I had to give it up because I just couldn't, my heart wouldn't let me get around. And we used to get some of this cocoa off here. I love going to my customer's house and planting in their flower beds. I mean, I was raised on a farm. It don't matter if you're farming 10 by 10 square or 5 by 10 or a pot full of potted flowers. It's all the same. Make sure you got good soil, good water, know how much water each plant's supposed to have, and you'll be successful in your farming. Do a little research. Especially, I grew up with encyclopedias and the Farmer's Almanac. But, all right. You can see it got it pretty full here. Mix the soil around pretty good. Yeah, get that paper up out of here. So this will just be for green onion tops. I know you can do that with lettuce. You can go in and trim it. And so that's what we're going to do with this. So I'm going to take my plants here. You see this has got just a little green coming out the top. I've had it in there about 3 days, I guess. Didn't take long for it to sprout. That's a good thing to know that your plants that you're eating are alive. This is amazing. It's been in about 3 weeks, and you can see how it's growing. It's growing like crazy. And you don't have to pack these in a lot, just a little bit. This soil is real loose. All right, here's my baby, just starting to come out. And yes, that water smells like funky onion. I don't have to tell you, it doesn't smell the best in the world. So here out of this root, I've got 2 plants growing. Hope you can see that. That could be a hand model. So I'm going to take a knife and slice this one side off and see if that little one will win. If that little one will live. I don't know if it will. This is a Texas sweet onion. I don't know if you can even see this, but if I don't cut my finger off. Let's see the best way to do this. That's some stinky stuff, boys and girls. If you don't like onion, do not do this. So you can see I've got the 2 separated apart. So let's get this one planted. Get it covered up good. Get it next to its buddy here that it sprouted off of. I just don't think that little one will make it, but we'll keep an eye on it. I'll get some pictures during the week. And okay. I want to cover the little head up there. So there they are. That's a little planter. It will go in. Let me show you here. I save all my eggshells and paper napkins that just have water on them. It will go inside of a container like this and then get watered. I can see how much water it needs. Just I don't have to pour it on here. It'll suck it up in there. Let me get rid of this onion juice on the onion plants herself. I know you can't see it, but trust me. And that's some stinky, stinky stuff. So here I've got a set of 4 onions. See those? These are just regular onion sets. Let's see what I've got here. I've got another container. I save all my containers. Yeah, this one should be big enough to get the 4 in. Let me get some soil working here. You can put eggshells in your garden, but it takes for a long time for them to break down. I've got them. I'm going to crush them up pretty fine. I'm going to have a worm bed in here indoors. I've raised worms several times in my life back in the 70s, early 70s, before I went in the service. I used to fish with them all the time, and they got so costly that I started raising them. A guy showed me how to raise them in a 5-gallon bucket. I just raised enough fish with it for my buddies. So, but anyway, then I've raised them 30 years ago when we first bought this house. And I was in the landscape business, and it's when I first got in the landscape business. I retired when I was 50 years old, first time. I had a company in Louisville, Texas, Old Town. It was a candle factory. And we poured scented candles, like a lot. The little votive candles, we'd pour about 2,000 a day in container candles, and they were all scented. We did custom, what they call blind labels, no labels. You know, someone else had put their label on it, and you know, that kind of a thing. So it was a good business to be in. And I went through a DIVORCE. We split the assets and sold the business, sold the land. And I had enough to be comfortable on, and I retired. Well, I didn't stay retired too long, maybe 6 months. I started working in, we bought this home. My current wife, Cindy, and I bought it. We weren't married at the time. Yeah, we may have been living in sin, living together, but we bought the house together. And I was working here and working there for friends, and you know, just being retired. And one of my friends called or came by and seen my garden out here, my flower garden, and said, "Oh, can you do some yard work for me?" And I said, "Yeah, shoot, yeah." So I went over and put some mulch in her flower beds, and she loved it so much. Went back that afternoon, and she said, "Come over, I got you some money." I said, "All right." I mean, I wasn't doing it for the money, but let's get this loaded down here. So her neighbor come over. I noticed her neighbor was watching me most of the day, and she'd come over and said, "Looks really pretty." You know, how we were doing the land, or it was me. And so I took and went over and talked to her and picked up my payment for the day. And next thing I know, she's calling saying that her neighbor needs some work done. Would I do some work for her neighbor? And I said, "Yeah. I got time." I was retired. I was 50 years old. And how many years ago that would be? Here next week it'd be 22 years. So I went over and started work for her, and another neighbor came down while we were working on her house and said, had a tree need to be removed. Could I do that? And I said, "Yeah, no problem." So one thing led to another, and within a year, I had a crew of about 14 guys that I was working with. We did everything from rock work, which I really love doing rock work, dry stone stacking, all types of stuff like that. Business, and I've always loved to fish, so I was raising some worms, and I had 2 beds, and they were going crazy. I mean, I was selling about 1,000 worms every 2 weeks out of these 2 big beds. They were red worms. They didn't take a lot of maintenance. They just I just feed them a little scraps every once in a while, a little cornmeal on top. And before I knew it, I had worms running out my ears. The only problem is my landscaping business was going nuts. I mean, I just happened to be working in the area of North Dallas where the real expensive homes are. And one person seen it, and another person liked it, and you know, I mean, literally, I could have worked 7 days a week. I just worked 5. I was retired after all. So anyway, I raised lots of worms, and it got so busy in my landscape business, I sold all the worms out except a few and turned them loose in my vegetable garden. I'll put a picture of that up. my old vegetable garden. It raised great plants, lots of tomatoes. At one time I was getting, I think I had 30 or 40 tomato plants, and at some points in time we'd get, I think I was getting 50 pounds of tomatoes every 3 or 4 days off of it. Just an unreal amount. I left one up here. I didn't see it. We'll get him all planted in. One thing about onions, if you need to move them, they're real forgiving. You can just pick them up and move them and replant. And I mean, you can throw, well, you can see, you can throw the bottoms of a root of an onion out on the ground, and if it gets a little water and a little dirt, it'll get growing. So I've repositioned some here, put that extra one in. Now I've got to get, back to these eggshells. I'm going to crush those up, and I don't know if I even said that. I'm going to crush them up and put in my my bins that I'm going to raise my worms in. I'm going to raise an African nightcrawler in the same bins, recycler worms, red wigglers. People love to fish with those, and fish love those. So let me grab a towel here and get my hands kind of clean, and I'll go get a container for this celery. I don't think it has to be too deep, but I've got plenty of containers. I've got milk cartons that I save all. I save everything that I could use like that. I'm like my father. He had a barn full of stuff that he saved, and it was a good thing because we used it. Why go buy new stuff if you've got something that'll work the same?
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle a calf and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, have to wait lunch until his wife's done feeding visiting ladies, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon, and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painin' from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.